Welcome in to another episode of Betting the Pitch. I am your host, the real_G Warner on Twitter. Please hit the follow button, or if you're listening on YouTube, hit subscribe. Apple Podcasts, hit subscribe. Give me a 5-star rating review. Throw a question in there. I'll try to answer it on a subsequent show. If you're on, I guess Twitter, I already said, which is where StreamYard would play. YouTube, already said. Oh, Spotify. Starting to add polls into most of my questions to see, or most of my podcasts to see if people are paying attention over there. Just testing a lot of things to see who cares what I'm saying. I appreciate all of you for watching, especially for how many episodes I'm doing a week now of these. So appreciate that all. Today, we're going to go through the European competitions that are on Thursday this week. That is the Europa League and the Europa Conference League. Not as much macro discussion for this episode, but I'm going to go through and give a best bet for each of the leagues and ultimate best bet, and hopefully those will be winners. So without further ado, let's go through the Europa League and make sure I click on the right window, and then we will be there. Okay, great. So we have two windows for both of these leagues, an 11:45 Central Time in the United States and in Dallas, Texas, where I live currently. But also some good news. I'm heading to Germany tomorrow, and if anyone can help me to figure out how the heck to get a Dortmund Schalke ticket, actually 3 of them, I would really appreciate it. I will make it worth your while, however that is done, because it is impossible to find a ticket. Might say something on that end of show alongside the best bets, because I am serious about trying to figure this out, and it seems impossible. So back to Europa League. First matchup in the first window looks like Sheriff Tiraspol, Moldovan side, will be hosting Manchester United. And those are two of probably the biggest discrepancies in clubs possible, though Sheriff were a Champions League team last year and got a couple wins. Maybe potentially more than you could say, maybe impressed more than Manchester United did. That's certainly a difference in expectations. Sheriff are currently a 1 3/4 goal underdog at home, and they're a little bit of a rest disadvantage because Manchester United got to the weekend off due to the Queen's death. I'm going to try not to go into that on this episode, but really, really bizarre. And we'll just keep going and press on as we always do. But ultimately, I lean to the home dog here. I like Sheriff Tiraspol because they were very competitive last season. I've not really kept up with their transfer moves this year, I must admit. But Manchester United, I am still in the fade camp, not a believer camp. Eric Ten Hag still has a ton to prove. A couple good results in the Premier League have not shown anything, especially after they lost. You could say it was a little bit controversially, to say the least, against Sociedad at home last weekend or last Thursday. Ultimately, I would love to see a +2 on Sheriff. It might get there considering most of the juice is pointing towards Manchester United right now, and they get bet like a good team would, and they're not one. But there's a big, big discrepancy in quality of these two sides. So I'll move on to the next one. And here we have Real Sociedad, speaking of the devil, a 2-goal favorite, hosting Omonia Nicosia, easy for me to say. All the juice is on the road team, Omonia Nicosia. And they're going to go to the Real Arena, which I've been to, went last year for my first ever European soccer match live. And it's probably going to be a pretty cool spot for them. A lot of celebration after the victory at Manchester United last week, and should put them and their crowd in a really good position, though it's always nuts. At least when I went for lowly Mallorca last year, the cheapest ticket probably of their season, because they really stagger them based on if Barcelona's in town or not. And, maybe they're going to charge a little more for Europa League, because I did see that at Real Betis last season. But, who cares? There's going to be plenty of butts and seats there. And I think for the most part, there's going to be a lot of Churi Ordine all over the place. And Real Sociedad, they've done a lot of adding to a squad that's still missing Mikel Oyarzabal, but every day we get closer to his return. I just don't know enough about Omonia Nicosia to want to back them, so I'll probably skip that one. Michelin then hosting Lazio. Michelin, a minnow, I believe, from Denmark, Norway, one of those Scandinavian team, but definitely a minnow compared to the quality that Lazio have. And Lazio were really fortunate in Serie A this weekend to escape with a victory late and then cover the spread when they should have probably given a penalty the other way for Hellas Verona. So Lazio are certainly living a charmed life right now. Had a really good start to their matchup with Feyenoord last week at home in this competition, the Europa League. They are currently Lazio a half a goal favorite on the road at Michelin. And the problem for me fading Lazio, they're just always tough for me to go against because they can score goals. I know they can score goals. Everyone knows they can. Defense is where they have trouble, but I don't know how much Michelin are going to be in a position to challenge that. Ciro Immobile has been playing every match, so we'll see if there's some rotation that might take place here. I do feel like there's like almost a sprint to the finish line because the international break is coming up, and that's when I'll be at Oktoberfest, just slanging Steins as many as I can until I'm probably vomiting everywhere. Won't hopefully have any pictures of that going out. But anyway, Michelin, they're probably going to have some good crowd support. It's going to be a little bit of a tough position for Lazio to go on the road far north for this matchup and might zap their legs more for the weekend in Serie A play, which is something I probably should look towards. But ultimately, where I sit, I just don't know that I can play Michelin because I'm not sure they can score Lazio. Actually, I'm pretty sure they cannot. Next, we'll move to Feyenoord hosting Sturm Graz. Sturm Graz from Austria. We played the guess what country everyone's in game. I didn't guess where Ramon and Nicosia was because I haven't looked that up yet. But ultimately, Feyenoord in Holland, a 1.5 goal favorite to Sturm Graz. And I still have some bad feelings about Sturm Graz based on how uncompetitive they were last season in this competition, I think in Europa League. They did play Sociedad. I remember seeing their scarves in the team shop for Real Sociedad when I was over there. Feyenoord should be pretty upset on that performance against Lazio last weekend or last midweek, excuse me, Thursday, whatever day that counts for. It's kind of the weekend. If I was president, I'd make it a weekend day, only do 3-day work weeks if I could get away with it. Anyway, that's not anywhere close to being realistic. So we'll stay on point. Sturm Graz, maybe they go to Feyenoord and play competitively. I just think Feyenoord are going to have a great venue. I mean, the home teams in the Eredivisie have awesome crowds. It's like honestly a whole nother level than you'd expect versus a lot that I've seen. And I think that's going to really play a part in Sturm Graz struggling. And I just don't really want to get in the way of a big crowd with a team that I'm not sure is good enough. Next, we'll move Olympiacos hosting Freiburg. Currently, Olympiacos in Athens, a quarter goal underdog right now with all the juice, which is pretty respectful for Freiburg. But ultimately, they've been an awesome team. They were leading the Bundesliga entering into last season, which is, incredible heights for that club. But how do you argue against it? They win all the time. They play really well. They're a cohesive unit. They keep adding and strengthening a team with players they sold on. It's kind of incredible. Like bringing Matthias Ginter, who just couldn't. He wasn't having a very good year at Borussia Mönchengladbach, and they let his contract expire essentially, and he went to a better club that has a more cohesive nature, and that's a big deal in soccer. Olympiacos, they were competitive, but ultimately I think suffered a late conceded late against Nantes, I want to say in stoppage time. That was a big problem for him because that was a pretty bad start to the group stage for them, especially considering at one point Olympiacos were favored to win it. I do like them as a home underdog. I think Freiburg are just never a team you really trust to score efficiently. They love set pieces. They love corner kicks, which are low XG events mainly. And really what they're great at is just being a really deep squad. I think that makes them really ripe for this competition. I look forward to backing them against thinner, maybe more well-known clubs if they can move to the knockout rounds. But Olympiacos, unfortunately, they have a big name goalkeeper and not a lot around him. And Freiburg have been so good, unless there's a big rotation in their lineup, I think it's going to be hard for me to play Olympiacos at this juice, like all the juice and then some. It should probably be pick 'em based on where I'm looking at now. But based on the quarter, I like Olympiacos. I want to see this Freiburg lineup to see what's out there. And just knowing that they probably had a taxing game on Sunday against Gladbach, it's possible that they rotate. Next, we'll go to Qarabağ hosting Nantes. I believe this is in Azerbaijan. Big travel for Nantes. And currently Qarabağ, a pick 'em with all the juice. Maybe moving to a quarter goal favorite. And that makes me very interested in Nantes. They had a tough weekend, fell behind 3-1, got back to fell behind 1-0, equalized, then fell behind 3-1 on a really great goal that took a lead for Lorient, but then gave up another as they were pushing forward to equalize, got almost back in the game, just missed a chance late to tie it up and would have covered the spread for me. But ultimately now they go to a much weaker team. They played a pretty strong lineup last weekend, and last midweek. They haven't done a lot of rotating. I feel like there's a good chance that they take some of that spine that's been so strong for them the last season, and whatever this season has done, got them the Coupe de France championship, and ultimately got them that trophy and into this competition. I'm a little worried about their defense if they do rotate, because they are so reliant on a really good spine. But I don't know. Are they going to play 4 matches every week or every 2 weeks and play 2 matches a week from a team that was in a relegation position last season, or 2 seasons ago, excuse me, and had to fight their way out of the playoff? I feel like I need to see that lineup first, which you might, if don't play everybody, then that line probably falls. And then are we even getting the best out of them? They did rotate a little bit. Ludovic Blas didn't start, and I expect him to start in this one. But really, lineups are going to be very important for me to back Nantes, and they're not yet a quarter goal underdog, so I'm not that interested as we speak. Next, we'll go Monaco hosting Ferencvaros. Monaco, a 1.25 goal favorite, and they're really talented, but they haven't really put it together, and it's hard to trust them to do that. Brielle Embolo has been an awesome signing for them, and probably should have done better at Borussia Mönchengladbach if there weren't so many problems. Meanwhile, Ferencvaros are a good Hungarian side, but hard to really trust them. And they're getting a pretty big number here. The Stade Louis II, Monaco are much better there because they're so bad on the road, but I don't think it's because of a great crowd environment that they have, because it seems really quiet. Suppose it's a really big stadium, so you don't get as much credit for the attendees or the fans in attendance, supporters in attendance for Monaco. But ultimately, I don't know that it's going to be that hard of a place to play, especially because the Ferencvaros should be used to big crowds in the Hungarian league. So it makes me lean to the Hungarian team on the road. I just don't think there's anywhere close to the level of talent between these two clubs. And that makes it really hard to want to back an underdog, especially because once they lose or fall behind, that second goal is far more likely for Monaco than the first for Ferencvaros. Last but not least in this early window is Trabzonspor, the last year's Turkish Super League champions, hosting Crvena Zvezda, a Red Star Belgrade is the translation, I guess. But I'm trying to stick with what the clubs actually call themselves in their nations. Trabzonspor, a quarter goal favorite at home, with all the juice on Venezia on the road. So not a lot of respect. I mean, there wasn't last week either for the Turkish champions. They have some decent players, I got to say. Bringing in Mark Bartra from Real Betis, John Striger Larson, I think, who came in from Udinese, and there's more. I could bore you forever. Maxi Gomez. I mean, there's some good names in this team. Maybe not the best of the best, but certainly players that have got it done on big stages, maybe arguably much bigger than the Europa League. Whereas Red Star, I feel like, Venezia, I feel like in their matchup last week, they made some really silly challenges. Dragovic, a former Leverkusen player, I believe, I think it was Leverkusen, just like silly slide in tackles, taking yellow cards they shouldn't in like the 3rd minute of the match, put them in kind of a pressure situation that they didn't really need to be in. And that makes me concerned, especially on the road where the refs are not going to be lenient at all. Especially away from home. They might give you a benefit of the doubt early in a match at home, but they didn't clearly do that for Dragovic last weekend. And I don't really see that happening. So Trabzonspor seem pretty undervalued. I mean, it kind of continues what they were last season, especially considering they were Turkish champions. And Turkey's a pretty good league ultimately. So I guess I lean to Venezia, but I need to see more. And the juice is so high right now that I don't think I would play it at current. Moving to the afternoon, we have Bodo Glimt hosting Zurich, and Zurich had a really good year last year, but I think sold off a lot of players, and their manager at the very least left. But Bodo Glimt currently a 1-goal favorite with all the juice. Saw them here a quarter goal favorite to Dinamo Zagreb in the playoffs, in the Champions League playoffs, that they ended up bowing out to Zagreb in that one. But it's a pretty big number. I think it speaks to the differences between who Bodo Glimt have become. I mean, they were I don't know. Many people had ever heard of them last year, and they were pretty competitive in Europe. So maybe they do it again here. As a 1-goal favorite, seems really large, though. So I lean to Zurich. Next, we have Dynamo Kiev hosting AEK Larnaca. Kiev, a 3/4 goal favorite, playing this match, I think, in Norway. Not Norway, in Poland. From what I heard, I mean, maybe Kiev is getting a lot more support than Shakhtar Donetsk, but ultimately what I had heard is that there was a ton of support everyone buying tickets, something like 18,000 or something like that, season tickets or tickets were sold ahead of time for this matchup. Not season tickets, I guess. Who knows where everyone's playing. Really weird time um for anyone, any side that's in the Ukraine, and I certainly hope that Vladimir Putin has something wrong that happens to him that ends up forcing him to resign or something like that. It doesn't seem like it's possible anyway. Not to get political, but Larnacha, I believe from Cyprus, I want to say. I'm not sure that they're on the same type of level as Dynamo Kiev, even though they have a lot of players who are on loan and are not with the team. And I mean, it's a tough situation for any Ukrainian team. Certainly the public's rooting for them. I don't think that'll affect the referees, though the crowd in Poland might be behind them, and that's going to be important. And I don't think until I get one goal, I'm not even interested in this one. Next, we'll move Rennes hosting Fenerbahce. Rennes had a really slow start to the league on the season. They're moving in the right direction thanks to, I think, a really fortunate late goal in Europa League last week. Will they get it again against Fenerbahce? I'm not sure, because Fenerbahce are a Turkish team that I think are a little stronger. But yet again, I mean, seeing Rennes a 3-quarter goal favorite at home, considering they closed a 1.25 goal favorite at home this Sunday to Auxerre, one of the recently promoted sides in France. I feel like Fenerbahce, I guess, are getting a little bit of credit there because they're below that 1-goal number, as Rennes are a 3-quarter goal favorite, but it just feels like the Turkish league is not getting a lot of respect, and maybe that's deserved. It's certainly something I'm interpreting from the market. Rennes are an awesome offense when they're playing well. Bringing Amin Gouiri was a big deal. Adds to their attack and certainly is an important part, but it hasn't really been clicking so far. It's just requiring them to win by multiple goals to take your full unit makes me lean to Fenerbahce. I do think that I would rather see +1, and based on the current juice, it doesn't look like it'll get there. So we'll see what happens, but I'm still not a believer in Rennes, though I do hold a Rennes to finish in a European place ticket in Ligue 1. Next, we'll go Roma hosting Helsinki, fresh off the ropes and really fortunate, I thought, to beat Empoli this weekend. Missed the penalty, so that certainly speaks the other way. But ultimately, Roma, 2.25 goal favorite with all the juice, likely climbing to 2.5. I mean, that's a big number for Roma to lay. They certainly have the offense to score enough to score 3 goals, to score more than that. Helsinki are probably going to have to play as defensively compact as they can. Maybe take a page out of Jose Mourinho's book. But ultimately, from where I sit, it's a big number. I just don't know that Helsinki are good enough to hang. Next, we'll go Real Betis hosting Ludogorets. Currently, Betis at 1.25 goal favorite with all the juice. They played great this weekend. I mean, maybe we're really fortunate to hang in the match early at home against Villarreal, but ultimately won the match, and we're a home underdog. So that's about the best way you could ask for it. That's kind of what I'm trying to get into this year as my kind of betting strategy, is to really support the home teams or back the home teams more. Ludogorets were very competitive with Roma, had a big win, which I think spoke to Roma really getting off to a tough start in this competition. Do I think they can put 2 of those awesome performances back to back? Now, that's the hard part. I would probably say unlikely, or I think that's everyone would say that. Certainly should have a ton of confidence, but going to the Benito Villamarin is a tough spot, especially a lot of confidence that home win on Sunday. Betis don't have to travel, and I'm not sure exactly what country Ludogorets are from, but I think it's going to be a tough outing for them. I lean to Ludogorets, though, getting 1.25 and potentially moving to 1.5. Next, we'll go Sporting Braga hosting Union Berlin. Sporting Braga, a quarter goal favorite. Union with most of the juice right now, and that's flipped from earlier in the week. I mean, I love Union. They're an awesome team. They are so good against the spread. The market has not liked them for 3-4 years now, and keeps losing, but keeps betting against them. And it's really hard for me to avoid. I think Sporting Braga, a Portuguese league that doesn't get a ton of respect to the marketplace, which I think it should, on like a 5A being France, maybe 5B being Portugal, and Germany maybe, I think, being above them, but not by that much. I do like the German giant, as you would call it. Certainly that'll make the crowd in Braga even more interested in the match, though I don't think that was ever going to be a concern. I think from where I sit, Union is an underdog to a team that's not Bayern Munich is someone I'm interested in, even though they covered the spread in a draw against Bayern. So you got to find ways to keep me off Union. They have a lot more depth in their squad than I think you'd expect. They struggled really with balancing 2 competitions last year, but I feel like they also learned a lot from it. I want to see what the lineup looks like, because they're pretty. I mean, Robin Noka keeps playing, and I wonder if he potentially might be a a fatigue and bench rest type of candidate. But ultimately, they're a team that I would play as a quarter goal underdog against almost anyone. So certainly a Portuguese team will fit that bill, especially one that I thought was pretty disappointing last year. And I haven't really heard of a ton of splashes for Sporting Braga in the offseason transfer window. Last but not least, Saint-Gilloise hosting Malmo off of that victory at Union Berlin. So big deal. And maybe that speaks to a little bit of why Union are getting the quarter from a Portuguese team on the road, which probably speaks to a home field advantage type of number. Not to keep going it back to Union, but Saint-Gilloise were really impressive, I thought, Belgian or Dutch team. And I think they deserve. I was honestly looking into backing them at Union Berlin because Union were jockeying between 3/4 of a goal favorite and a full goal favorite. And I feel like that's getting one from Union is a really nice position to be in. Hard to want to bet against them because they can certainly kill teams, but I feel like they're a team I want to back as an underdog and certainly fade when I have a full goal in my pocket. Saint-Gilloise clearly didn't need it and won that match. And now they get to host Malmo and really try to build on that success and really move their club forward. Malmo, I believe, Swedish team who had sold Scholak to Rangers after knocking them out at the Champions League playoffs last season. Speaks to the finances and funds that they have. I don't really know that. I mean, it's going to again be hard. Kind of the Ludogorets idea. It's going to be hard for Saint-Gilloise to I think bounce back with another really good performance in this competition after a surprise upset victory at Union. But I do think they're better than Malmo, and that's a great position to be in. So in terms of best bets for the Europa League, and I wanted to do Europa League first. I thought about potentially leaving it to the end of the show. But I know a lot of people want to get into that one because it's much more probably televised across the world, but also is a more premium of contest. So starting early in the morning, I guess relatively early. I do like Sheriff. Want to though. Next we'll move to Olympiacos. I like as a home dog, getting a quarter from Freiburg, but certainly, especially pending what the Freiburg lineup looks like. I like not hopefully getting a quarter on the road at Karabag, though there's big rest concerns and potential there. So that's very important to see that lineup tomorrow. Ferencváros, I don't think will qualify. Fenerbahce, I do like on the road at Trabzonspor, but I feel like a Turkish crowd would be really tough to fight, especially with a really heavily juiced quarter. Zurich, I think getting +1 from Bodo Glimt is worth a look. I don't know if that's going to be enough for me to play. Larnaca, not good enough. Fenerbahce, I feel like that is if they could get +1 there, I'm a lot interested. I just don't know if we'll get there. Helsinki's a huge number, but probably too much. Ludogorets, I feel like could give Betis a game, but I just don't know if I can play it. I think for my best bet in the Europa League, I'm going to go with Union Berlin getting a quarter of a goal from Sporting Braga. I mean, if you listen to my podcast, you probably know that I gush over this team all the time, but they play a really compact defensive style. They like to counterattack. They have the fastest man in the Bundesliga, I think, so far, in Geraldo Becker. And Jordan Pefok has been awesome. So hard to argue with that. Great defense, some speed that can really catch you out. And I just don't know that Sporting Braga are ever really trustworthy enough to score. So, I mean, goalless is a dream for any underplayer or underdog backer, I guess is probably more accurate. But like that under 2.5, certainly that Union match, which only correlates more to a team that I really like, that I think is better. So I like Union. Next, we'll go to the Conference League, and feel free at the real_G Warner, fly in DMs. You got any questions, throw things my way. I'm happy to reply as much as I possibly can. We'll start with Apollon Limassol, and they are hosting Dnipro. I think Dnipro, based on a river in Ukraine, I believe I was reading about today. So there we go. Currently, Apollon, a half a goal favorite at home. And I don't really have a lot more to say about this one. Next, we'll go AZ Alkmaar, Dutch team, a 2.25 goal favorite, hosting Vaduz. Don't know where Vaduz is, and they are a 2.25 goal underdog. So that tells me they're from a very small country, and that is a huge spread. AZ or whatever AZ as they say it, I think in Europe. They're a talented team. Are I think in the top like 4 or 5 in the Dutch league, and hence being in the conference, Europa Conference League group stage. I don't know that makes them great, but I would like to at least know if I'm going to fade them, what country the team I'm backing is from. Next, we have FC Cluj from Romania, a 1/4 goal underdog with all the juice at home to Sivasspor. Again, not a lot of respect for a Turkish team. Sivasspor, certainly where I lean now, because Cluj in the Romanian league, I was reading about the kind of the downfall of the Soviet Union, kind of how that's affected the soccer clubs that are all playing in the top Soviet league. I think Cluj were unfortunately affected by that. Sivasspor shouldn't have been, and I mean, I feel like in the Turkish league they've got bigger budgets. They should be able to be competitive here. Line is a little bit troubling because I feel like we're climbing, getting closer to a half of a goal, but that makes me even more interested in Sivasspor to go on the road and get a draw as the minimum for a win, and certainly a maximum. If they could win it, then cover the spread easily. Next goes Djurgården hosting Molde, and currently Djurgården a pick'em with and it's actually flat. The line's flat, -110 each way. Not a lot for me to do here as an underdog player. It doesn't look like there's going to be one, and it's also hard to predict which one it would be if there was one. Next, we go Punic Yerevan hosting Slovan Bratislava. Punic a half a goal underdog at home with all the juice. I love home dogs, but I got to say I don't really know a ton about Punic Yerevan. The Slovan Bratislava side, I mean, clearly are from Bratislava, Slovakia, and that's a smaller nation, a small league, and I mean it's rare to see that favorite on the road, I guess. So lean to the home dog, but thanks for sticking with me. There's going to be a lot of these on this slate, I think. Ghent, then, or AA Ghent, not for sure how to pronounce that. Someone slide in and tell me how to. They're a 1.5 goal favorite hosting Shamrock Rovers, who I think are from Ireland, Northern Ireland, one of those. Irish football is not in a great position right now, and so anything in that area with a Shamrock in the name seems a little bit scary. Ghent a goal and a half favorite. It's a monster number for them because I don't think they're that strong. But I don't know that there's enough there for me to play. Slavia Praha then hosting KF Balkani. Currently Praha a 2.25 goal favorite, big number, but they were getting a lot of respect on the road as a favorite last week. Looks like this is a pretty easy group for them. I think they were clear favorites to win it. So as a 2.25 goal favorite, it's a big number, especially in the European competition, because most of these teams that are in here are good if they made it here. Even if they're from a small nation, you should trust them to be at least competent. I don't know if I really want to get involved in that one. Zalgiris Vilnius, a half a goal underdog at home to FC Basel. Basel were really good. That's where Urs Fischer came from to eventually land at Union Berlin. They're a team I want to back because I believe in, if they could have him there, they found a gem, and I feel like they probably have more of those up their sleeve. Certainly like the home dog Zalgiris, but I'm not sure that's enough. Köln then hosting Slovako. Currently Köln a 1.75 goal favorite. They rotated a lot in their weekend matchup on Sunday, so I mean, good chance that they're playing their best that they got. I'm not really sure what the strategy is from Stefan Baumgart for this season, and I'm planning to go see them play on Sunday in Bochum. So also looking for tickets for that one on top of the Bundesliga matchup for the Riviera Derby, Schalke and Dortmund. So if anyone can help me with anything there, give me some clue. Help me be a member or however the heck, because I don't have a European bank account. We'll figure it out. Probably just see me going around and not doing this like in Glorious Bastards. Instead, we're using the three fingers. Eins, zwei, drei. I can count in German. That's about it. Anyway, Slovako getting 1.75. Not sure that's enough, though. I don't really believe in Köln's offense so far. I think replacing Anthony Modeste is going to be something they really can't do this year. I don't know that they have the players behind him. Sebastian Anderson's been nothing for 2 years now, it seems. They're basically playing a youth product, essentially a big guy. But ultimately, I don't know that there's enough there of Florian something. So lean to potentially fading Cologne, especially because I feel like the cross the ball offense is their only real way to score. I just don't know that Slovak are good enough for that. Next we go Partizan hosting Nice. Partizan a 1/4 goal underdog, and they should have quite the Partizan crowd. Catch my drift there. Hosting Nice, who, I mean, they keep doing business things. I mean, the way their roster changed from Thursday to their match on Sunday was nuts. But Partizan they're gonna have a big crowd. I mean, honestly, it's one of those crowds that seems like scary. Like you might not want to even attend a match there unless you really know what you're doing, because it seems like a risk. But I just want to go to those things because I feel like the fear. I mean, Real Betis fans threw a cigarette at me when they thought I was when German team scored because they thought I was rooting for Leverkusen in a Europa League match last year. So I don't want to get hurt, but I feel like it might be worth the story. Anyway, Partizan, a quarter goal underdog at home. Love the idea that an intense crowd could really get onto Nice, especially because Nice have not been that strong to start the year. Their project, basically stalled once Gaultier left for PSG and those greener pastures and greener doll hairs, greener euros or whatever he's getting paid in Bitcoin, hopefully, hodl. But ultimately, I like the idea of fading Nice. They're clearly going to be more talented, but they haven't put that together, and it's been a couple of years now. So lean to Partizan. Next, we go Rigas Futbola Scola. I believe they are from Latvia and had a pretty good performance last week in this competition. They are quarter goal underdog at home to Hearts, who Hearts doesn't get a lot of respect here. Not a lot of love for Hearts in the marketplace. I think it speaks to coming from a small UK league, which the UK teams are usually overbet, but I like the home dog here. They were competitive when I watched them last weekend. I want to say against Villarreal, took a lead even potentially, but maybe that's a little bit of not sure that they can do that again. Speaking of Villarreal, next we have Apoel Beersheva, a 1-goal underdog at home. This is disappointing because I think this is in Israel and Villarreal have to travel there and then come back because I do have a wager on them season long to finish in the Champions League. We're off to a great start. Had a big setback at Real Betis. I mean, not embarrassing loss by any means, especially only 1-0. But ultimately, from where I sit, they got off to a great start. They're very deep. They have a really great roster. It's kind of incredible playing in this competition. And they were favorites to win it for good reason. I'm not sure there's enough for me unless you're backing a plane trip and some tired legs. But Villarreal are so deep, it's hard to want to get in the way of them. Lech Poznan then hosting Austria Vienna, and I believe it's Austria Wien. Lech Poznan a half a goal favorite at home, which is pretty big considering I know the Austrian league is not strong. Lech Poznan, I believe, is from Czech Republic. We'll have to check on that one. Got all the jokes today. But from where I sit, I lean to Austria Wien. I think getting a half of a goal in this competition is a lot because there's a lot of teams that are going to go on the road because they're all good pretty much and hang around. I'm going to have to look more into that one and figure out where Lech Poznan actually is. Silkeborg then hosting West Ham, getting a goal at home. And they're unlucky because West Ham didn't have to use their legs to play in the Premier League this past weekend. I think from where I sit, Silkeborg are nothing as a home dog, especially getting a full goal. I don't trust the West Ham offense, but I do wonder how Lucas Paqueta is going to change things because he's awesome and has a lot of ability and is very, very scary, especially betting against them. I felt his pain and his punishment going against Lyon for a couple of years. So I'm not sure that I want to do that on the team named Silkeborg. Next we'll go Istanbul Başakşehir hosting Fiorentina, a pick'em, which is very disrespectful, I think, to Fiorentina. All the juices on Fiorentina right now, maybe climbing to a quarter of a goal favorite. Might have been there earlier this week, if I remember correctly. And I mean, Fiorentina have improved a lot. They're a better team. They went from like being in a relegation conversation, not necessarily in a dogfight 2 seasons ago, to finishing in a Conference League place, which is that was a respectable improvement. They're dealing with a lot of injuries. Nico Gonzalez, I guess, is nowhere near the team right now due to injury, and he's a big deal for creating things. I feel like he needs to get to a better club and just be a reserve winger or something like that so he can stay healthy and be around a lot of creative talents. That might be the best he will be. But anyway, back to this matchup. It's actually here again, Turkish. I mean, I guess this is a little bit different with the Turkish team is actually getting a little respect here. But they're a new club in not really a traditional Turkish Super League or team, super giant team club, whatever I'm trying to say. I hope you get the gist. I lean to them as a home underdog. Hopefully this climbs to a quarter of a goal because people see Fiorentina and think, oh, solid Italian team that just drew Juve. They should certainly handle this one. But I like the idea of backing a Turkish crowd against a Fiorentina team that's really been struggling. They're having to balance multiple match days each week. I don't know that their offense has been very good, and I feel like they've been struggling in a lot of different areas. And the Dusan Vlahovic hole seems to get bigger and bigger every match that he's not there. Next, we'll go FCSB hosting Anderlecht, currently FCSB, a quarter goal underdog at home. Anderlecht, a good Belgian team that have done a fair amount of business in the loan window of the transfer market, bringing in some talented players. I think it makes sense they're a quarter goal favorite, though I'm not into those sort of things. I like the home underdogs. I think I need to do a little more research on this one, though, to feel comfortable. So for the best bet, we already have coming from the Europa League, we went with Union Berlin getting a quarter of a goal. We'll go through the card now for the Conference League and then get out of here. Dinner Pro, not going to make the list. Valduz, nope. Sivaspor, potentially, especially if they climb to half a goal underdog. That will make me more and more interested. Not there yet. Molde, Pick'em, not much to do there. Punic, don't even know where they are. Shamrock Rovers got really disrespected for lines now for 2 seasons, essentially in these European competitions. That's scary. Balkany, too far of a difference, 2.25 goal underdog to Slavia Prague. Zalgiris Vilnius, a half a goal underdog at home, but Basel have been really strong. Cologne, a team I would like to go against. I just don't know that Slovak are good enough, maybe at 2 goals, but not there yet. I do like Partizan getting 1/4 goal with a big crowd at home to Nice. Rigas as a home underdog, I like to Hearts, but don't have a ton of faith in them necessarily. Villarreal are in a tough spot, so I like the +1 for Hapoel Beersheva at home. Austria win, getting a half of a goal from Lech Poznan seems interesting. Silkeborg getting +1s a lot. I wish Istanbul Başakşehir were getting 1/4, but they're not there yet, so I can't pick that one. So for my best bet for the Europa Conference League in match day 2, I'm going to go with Partizan +1/4 at home against Nice. Nice are stronger, more talented, better managed, I guess. Lucien Favre, I think, is still there. I'm not a believer in him. I'm not really a believer in the side. And I like Partizan to have a big output, huge crowd behind them, and a draw wins you half a bet. So that's my best bet from the Europa Conference League. I will pick for my ultimate best bet. Drum roll. I'm going to go with Union Berlin getting 1/4 goal on the road, but it's kind of how it goes on the road. And I will tell you their opponent, because I just forgot it, of course. On the road at Sporting Braga. Going to be a tough environment in Portugal, but I believe in them, and they've done nothing over years and years for me to doubt them. So I like Union Berlin getting 1/4 goal as my best bet. You can follow me on Twitter, @the_real_G Warner, or thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, do all sort of things. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please give a 5-star rating, review on the podcast. It really would help me out. Let me know if you got anything else you want me to cover besides this kind of format. I feel like the Best Bets thing has helped it take off, and a lot more people are listening now, just off of a title change. Who would have thunk? If you're on StreamYard, aka Twitter, thank you. Please slide in the DMs if you feel like you got something to say. Love replying to everybody. And if you're on Spotify, answer the poll. We'll see how many we get in this one, and we'll change it next. But thanks for joining, and we'll see everybody soon. Next broadcast will be from Germany.